Hello, everyone. My name is Donna Price, and I teach ESL and VESL, Vocational ESL, for the San Diego Community College Continuing Education Program. I'm also a co-author of the textbook series Ventures. I'm going to present on practical ways to include workplace readiness skills in ESL classes, including face-to-face and online classes. This workshop is an updated version of workshops that I presented at several EL Civics conferences. I will share current research, including a survey from Hart Research, an excerpt from a TESOL publication, and an article about valuable skills in 2022. All the research emphasizes the importance of 3 soft skills in the workplace: communication, teamwork, and critical thinking. In this workshop, I will present several practical activities to address these soft skills. By the end of the session, participants will be able to recognize essential workplace skills identified by current research and incorporate into your own face-to-face or online classes activities that help students achieve essential workplace skills. In the first bullet, essential workplace skills are also called, as you've heard many times, soft skills, transferable skills, workplace readiness skills, interpersonal skills, and even non-cognitive skills. I'm sure some of you remember in 1990, the SCANS report, Secretary's Commission on Achieving Necessary Skills, which answered the question, what does it take to be successful in the workplace? Even now, in 2022, research backs up the SCANS report, but with the focus on some different soft skills. In 2018, Hart Research Associates conducted an online survey on behalf of the Association of American Colleges and Universities among employers at companies that have at least 25 employees. The research includes 2 parallel surveys. One survey was given to 501 business executives, that's the dark blue line, and the same survey was given to 500 hiring managers. Some of the outcomes that both groups rate as important, as you can see in the red circle, include oral and written communication, critical thinking, and working effectively in teams. Notice how the learning priorities that both executives and hiring managers value most highly cut across disciplines or majors. What soft skills are employers looking for? According to the 6 principles for exemplary teaching of English learners, published by TESOL, critical thinking, problem solving, verbal and written communication skills, teamwork skills, and professional manners are the top-rated soft skills managers seek in employees and are suitable instructional targets for our adult English language classes. Today, I'm going to share ideas about practical ways to include soft skills or essential employability skills to students in both face-to-face and online classes. The information in this slide is from a very current article called The Most Valuable Skills from 2022. And this part is from research done by McKinsey & Company, which is a management consulting firm that advises on strategic management to corporations, governments, and other organizations. Notice the soft skills he provides that are needed for jobs in 2022. The ones in bold are skills I'm going to discuss today in this workshop. The article also discusses industries that require soft skills such as hospitality and retail and customer service jobs that many of our students have. I like the examples of time management, something we can integrate in our classes by giving students deadlines to finish assignments or specific time to finish an activity when they're working in groups. And last, research has shown over and over again the importance of soft skills to get a job, keep the job, and thrive on the job. Of course, a nurse must have hard skills. They have to know technical skills like giving an IV to work as a nurse. But if the nurse doesn't show up on time, or if she has interpersonal issues with other nurses or supervisors, she isn't going to last long on the job. In this workshop, I'm going to focus on these 3 top soft skills from current research described in previous slides: communication, teamwork, and critical thinking, and how to embed these in instruction. Let's focus now on communication activities, which include oral and written communication. I'm sure that you all do collaborative activities, both in your face-to-face and online classes. The benefits are so many. Students learn from each other. They often have to really listen to each other to complete the task. And they need to be understood and to understand. The first oral communication activity I'd like to share is conversation cards. Conversation cards is such a popular activity because it provides students with content-rich speaking practice. We want to continue to find ways to give students practice speaking in both face-to-face and online classes. The cards in this slide are from a collaborative activity found in the New Ventures online website called Cambridge One. Students are practicing work vocabulary as well as the grammar and, or, but from Venture Student Book 1, Unit 8. In face-to-face classes, if you can remember, we used to cut up the cards and students would stand up and mingle, ask their questions, and exchange cards. In online classes, there are other options, and probably some of you have figured these out, such as a chain drill where students ask and answer questions all together, or in breakout rooms. My students like to write the answers for homework and practice the questions with family members. At the beginning level, just don't use as many cards. Make the questions level appropriate and color code them if desired. By color coding them, the teacher can ask a student to read the yellow card or the blue card, etc., which might be helpful to the lower level students. There are many ways, like I said before, to practice conversation cards online, such as in a chain drill or in gallery view. But the one I like the most is having students go to breakout rooms, and when they come back to the whole group, they share their answers. Just as in groups in face-to-face classes, in online breakout rooms, students get more practice speaking. The teacher can type the questions in the chat box or attach a file to the chat box, or students can copy a few of the questions or take a picture of the slide with the questions. Another communication strategy I would like to share is useful language phrases. As we all know, there is a great need for our students to use functional language associated with asking for information, making requests, providing explanations, discussing problems, and so on. This slide shows useful phrases for ending a conversation. These simple phrases are so important to teach and use in the classroom. Students want to know how to sound courteous, friendly, and polite. Enlarge these, you can see how I did, and hang them in your face-to-face classroom or in a group. Students use these, when they're in their group and they're ready to leave, so the teacher says, don't forget, use a polite way to end your conversation. Students internalize these expressions, and it's really wonderful to see. In online classes, put the phrases in the chat box and ask students to copy them. Tell students to practice with them in their breakout rooms. Check the breakout rooms to be sure they are using the phrases. There's a list of these useful phrases in the handout. At the end of this workshop, I'll tell you where you can access the handout. Here's another example of an activity that promotes speaking and listening. You probably know the Find Someone Who activity. This is a great community builder in both face-to-face and online classes. In face-to-face classes, students walk around and find someone who answers yes to the questions. In online classes, an easy way to do it is to just move 2 to 3 students from one room to another so that different people circulate in and out of the rooms. I'm going to be a little bit smaller here. No need to take up all this space there. Okay, a little bit smaller. Okay. Written communication is mentioned in the research and in almost all employability frameworks as an essential employability skill. We put writing in the soft skills category. Writing is a hard skill when it's a technical skill required for the job, such as a journalist or a technical writer. Letters, reports, and paragraphs are written communication that employees often have to do at work, and certainly in academic settings. Scaffolding is so important, especially when teaching writing. Think of scaffolding as a frame. Some information is provided, and students complete what is missing. Scaffolding is used to guide and structure student learning. Little by little, more and more of the frame is omitted, which means that there's less assistance for the writer. Scaffolding doesn't last forever. The goal is for students to move toward independence. Have you ever done a writing assignment and your students sit there and say they have no idea what to say or where to start? This is where scaffolding frames come in. You may remember that the English Language Proficiency Standards has 10 guiding principles. Number 7 is about scaffolding. I'm going to share a few examples of scaffolding from Ventures. Let's look at a letter. What's the difference between these two? In the first one, information is provided. Students find the answers on a previous page in the textbook. So they had something before this, so they have to go back and find the word that fits in there. In the second one, the information comes from the learner. So they have to use their own knowledge for the second one. In this example, students read a model about why you shouldn't shop online. Students fill in the outline with reasons and details. And after that, they make another outline with reasons why you should shop online. So how is this scaffolding? Well, first, students are given a model, which is important in all writing assignments. After that, students fill in an outline of the model, and then they write a new outline with their own information. This is scaffolding. This example is an accident report. How is this scaffolding? Well, first, students read and understand the model. Questions are given about the model. The first accident report is recognition. The second one students have to produce. So it's recognition before production, which, as you know, is how we learn to speak another language. We just completed the section on oral and written communication. I shared conversation cards, find someone who, useful language phrases, as well as scaffolded writing with letters, paragraphs, and reports. What are your takeaways from this section? What is one idea about communication that you will take away? Maybe you already know about conversation cards, but maybe you haven't done them in a while. So this is maybe a reminder for you. And maybe you've never really used those useful language phrases and you would like to start. So hopefully you'll take away something from this section or be reminded of something. Let's look at the second activity that is highly rated in the research as an essential workplace skill, teamwork. The 3 teamwork activities I'm going to share are unscramble, pie charts, and projects. Maybe you have done some of these activities with your students. Think about when the last time you did them was, and also think about your level and how you could adapt some of these. This is an example of a collaborative activity from Ventures Book 3. You can see from this picture that communication naturally happens when students have to do an activity like this. I cut up the strips or have students cut them up and then put them in order. Almost every reading lesson in the student book has a scramble collaborative to go with it, which is in Cambridge 1. Students have to read and pay attention to transition and sequence words in order to get the story, letter, or paragraph in the right order. In online classes, Cambridge has created fillable forms so that students can go in breakout rooms, share their screens, and put the number next to the correct line. There's also a fun program called Flippity that scrambles lines in a letter or a story, and students have to move the sentences around, and it's online. So how is this scrambled activity teamwork? This is supposed to be a person here. In face-to-face classes, I choose students who have finished faster than others to walk around to check others' work. In online classes, the teacher drops students in different rooms to work with pairs of students, and this becomes a team activity. Teamwork is necessary to do this type of interactive activity. First, students get to know each other by interviewing each other. So they ask questions like, do you feel tired often? Then they complete the bar graph by using the information from the interview. And finally, they compare their charts with other groups. This is teamwork. This is an example of a supplemental activity in Ventures found online at Cambridge 1 and its projects. In this particular project, students work in groups to research information about different careers. Students find information about a job or career that they are interested in. They take notes about it and write about and present it to the class. In face-to-face classes, students give presentations in front of the class, and the teacher posts their findings on the wall or on a bulletin board. In online classes, Students work in groups in breakout rooms and do the research online together. Instead of posting the students' completed work on the wall, teachers could post on a website or on a Padlet. Some of you have probably used Padlet. It's like an electronic bulletin board. You can create a Padlet and your students can easily add their information to it. Here's an example of how it might look. So some students decided they wanted to be auto technicians and they wanted to find out more about it. So they put their skills and they put the education needed and they added a picture. You don't have to add a picture, but they usually like to. And here's one for personal care assistant. This is the Padlet. So what is your takeaway from this section? We talked about teamwork activities like unscramble, maybe using the fillable form worksheets and having another student walk around to help or go to breakout rooms or go to Flippity for something online. And also interviewing to make a bar graph or doing research on something in groups and then Padlet to post. There's so many things students can research, not just about careers, many things such as the best restaurants in your city or something about a book they've read or a movie. So think about an idea that you will take away. We discussed the first two groups that are thought to be essential workplace skills, oral and written communication, and teamwork. The last one is critical thinking. Examples of critical thinking that I will share are problem solving, interpreting, analyzing, and creating a pie chart, comparing two texts with similar themes, and reflecting. Critical thinking is basically understanding the connections between things. Parrish and Johnson have given us a very helpful list of critical thinking skills, including organizing, categorizing, predicting, problem solving or decision making, and so on. Problem solving is considered a critical thinking skill and is included in all employability frameworks. You can get problems from textbooks, from pictures, and real life scenarios. I actually have a problem box in my classroom and ask students to write down problems that they have from school or work anonymously. And their classmates can give them some advice. I had an interesting problem from Yolanda, and I wrote about it in Ventures Book 4. So Yolanda wrote her problem and put it in the problem box, and I read it to the students. Every unit in all Ventures books starts with a big picture to start the unit. Many core texts have these, and some of the pictures are excellent to use for problem solving. In the one you can see here, this is Yolanda's story. Yolanda works in a bakery. She has a coworker, David, who she really likes. They get along well, but he's been leaving early lately. When she asks him about it, he tells her he has a class and has to leave early. But this means that she often has to clean everything by herself and make sure everything is done before she closes up the shop. She's tired and frustrated. She meets some friends after work and they give her advice. In my class, students sat in groups of 4 to discuss Yolanda's problem. Students use this structured problem-solving template to write the problem, discuss solutions, and come to some kind of consensus about the best thing to do. Here, what will she do? It's important, I believe, to structure problem-solving activities so that students stay on task. Yolanda loved getting advice from her classmates. I did problem solving for many years, and then I quit doing it. It just didn't seem to work. But as soon as I started to use this template and students were focused on what they were doing, instead of just being some kind of open activity, it worked a lot better for me. I've heard some teachers comment that problem-solving activities can't be done in lower levels. In Ventures, starting from level 1, there are problem-solving scenarios like these. Notice the difference in levels. In level 1, students are given choices. In the higher levels, the choices are more open-ended. So the point is, even at the beginning level, students can do problem-solving activities. Graphic organizers are used to organize ideas and are in the critical thinking category. Here's an example of a pie chart activity where students practice reading a pie chart. So they have to read and understand the pie chart, which they might have to do on CASAS tests or other standardized tests. In this collaborative activity from Ventures Book 3, students first work together to ask and answer questions about Susan, about the person in the pie chart, questions about how she spends her day. After that, students ask each other about how they spent their time doing certain things, such as exercising or doing chores. Finally, students work together to make a pie chart about their partner's schedule. This activity can be done in face-to-face and on Zoom in breakout rooms. In Ventures Level 1 through Transitions, there are college and career readiness worksheets in the back of the book. Included in these worksheets are readings that have similar themes to the readings in the corresponding unit in the student book. Students compare and contrast the texts. This happens to address anchor number 9 in the college and career readiness standards, analyze how 2 or more texts address similar themes or topics in order to build language. And knowledge, that's the big one, in order to build knowledge. One last thing I recommend to include workplace readiness skills is to end the class by asking students what they did in class that employers are telling us they want. I do this at least once a week at the end of class, so students see what they are doing will transfer to the workplace. They learn to internalize these and have specific examples, which also helps them in a job interview. Students also, the goal is, feel good after they've done this because they realize how much progress they are making. So for example, did you work in teams today? And they would say, yeah, I worked in a group. And I say, you know, employers really like when you can work in a group. So you need to say that in a job interview. Did you teach somebody something? Well, yeah, I taught somebody, you know, something about the past tense. Okay, so you could be a trainer, you can train people. So all of these kinds of things are very transferable to the job interview and to the workplace. And also, as I said, it really helps with their self-esteem. So what are your takeaways from the critical thinking section? Do you think you might try problem solving using the template or graphic organizers such as pie charts to interpret and analyze information? And, most core textbooks have these now, and we really can't ignore them because of the importance of these graphic organizers on standardized tests. What about another takeaway would be comparing two texts with similar topics. It's a very high level skill, but you could do it at a lower level if it's structured enough. And what about the reflecting on their progress? Is that something you think you might want to do? And again, this is in the handout. And so you can use that, or you could adapt it to fit your students. At a lower level, just pick 2 or 3. So here is a summary of what we talked about today, including practical activities to do with your students from the 3 most highly rated skills: oral and written communication, teamwork, and critical thinking. These are the most highly related soft skills from current research. Well, did we meet our objectives? So try not to look at the red. Can you recognize essential workplace skills identified by current research? And if you say yes, what are they? Or oral and written communication, teamwork, and critical thinking skills. Can you incorporate into your classes activities that help students achieve essential workplace skills? Well, that would take conversation cards, find someone who, graphic organizers, scaffolded writing, projects, problem solving, and reflection. So I hope that you agree that we met our objectives today. Now, what about your commitment? What are 2 things that you will try in the next month or so? What about, I wish I could see you and see your hands, but what about conversation cards, online or face-to-face? Graphic organizers, pie charts, bar graphs, templates, projects, reflection activity at the end of class, written scaffolded lessons with letters and paragraphs, useful phrases. Oh, it was nice talking to you. Problem solving, using a picture from a book, using real life problems, or using something from the text. Unscramble activities or other things that we talked about today. Try to make a commitment to at least try one of these things in your class. So here is where you can get the handout for this presentation. This is the website that Cambridge has set up. So go ahead and take that website. And here is my email. And I'm going to model how I'm going to end this discussion in a polite way. I don't want to take up any more of your time. My students really love that one. And I would like to call out the other Ventures authors. This is the Ventures author team. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank you for attending and listening to this workshop. I'm going to keep this up for just a second so you could get that address. And you can email me. And again, thank you for attending, and thank you for the EL Civics project that puts all of these presentations on the YouTube channel. Thank you.